their country's stability. So we'll be able to learn a lot from them.
The small business sector contributes 30% to the country's gross domestic product. The Deputy Minister says her department is already working on programs to find solutions to reduce red tape and allow easy access to finance. Diabo Seto, SABC News, Johannesburg.
So South African advertising agencies have always punched well above their weight. Independent Joburg agency Mortimer Harvey has now launched an office in Cairo. It's the first independent agency to expand into the Middle East. So is there a creative way to ride the growth in economies expected across Africa and the Middle East? To discuss, we're joined by Group Managing Director of Mortimer Harvey, Andrew Fradd. Great to have you with us, Andrew.
Thank you for having me.
Let's get to Cairo, but I first have to ask you about the Oscar Stories verdict today.
Yes.
And I guess are ad agencies watching here for trends on social media, or watching because you're interested like everybody else?
We can't help but be interested. We can't help but be voyeuristic, both on the social media platforms and otherwise. It's our first glimpse into such an amazingly dramatic trial. As agencies, absolutely, we're passionate about social media and all things digital. So how and what the impact is of these platforms on the fans and engagement of the fans out there is quite intriguing, including the impact on productivity in South Africa today. Well,
yeah, we were looking at the volumes on the JSE low, and I wonder how many people were actually working today. So that's a question for business, although I guess you don't mind if your staff are online all the time, actually.
It's part of what we do, so we encourage our own people to participate in and engage the platforms that we communicate on, wherever they may be. Yes, we would prefer to see a lot more productivity, but it's hard to stay away from those water cooler conversations. It's hard to stay away from the television or what's happening on Facebook or Twitter.
Okay, let's look at now this office. I'm sure you're starting small in Cairo, yes. But for a communications agency, the first thing that comes to mind is, what about the communication and cultural barriers going into the Middle East?
We were establishing Cairo as our first office, and obviously we have already identified opportunities within Egypt itself, and also using Egypt or Cairo as a springboard not only into the Middle East but also into Africa as well. And we have already, do have business partners on the ground with established local networks and opportunities.
I think that's interesting for people who want to expand, because yes, you probably need some connection, some relationship before. You can't just pick a country and...
One can't arrive in any country and hope to arrive...
Has that been built up over a long time?
It has been built up over time. We've been working in African countries for the last 7 years with one of our clients, and through that process we've managed to meet some very sound and amazing partners, people to work with on the ground, and that is exactly what you need. In Africa or the Middle East, you cannot do anything but work with the best that the local has to offer.
Our ad agencies have been hailed. We have some amazing creative talent in South Africa, and we compete on the global stage. But do we understand African markets?
We need to be very cautious.
And of course they're all different.
They are all different. There is not a country that is the same as another. There are differing cultures, languages, nuances, regulatory environments that you need to be aware of. So the importance is not going in there with our own perceptions and our own way of doing things. The importance is to go there with the business of establishing partnerships, local insights, working with good people on the ground. Establishing partnerships is exactly how you succeed. And then together you share skills, and you do skills transfer with one another, and together you create great communications.
And are you competing against great agencies elsewhere in Africa as well? Because like the NDP talks about South Africa as this gateway, yes, helping global businesses and local businesses if they want to expand into Africa. But I'm sure there are lots of other countries, other ad agencies helping to do that as well.
There are some very strong partner or some strong communication agencies absolutely on the ground in many countries in Africa. Lagos, Nairobi, elsewhere. We're certainly going in there with a very fresh view. We're going in there with a very fresh and different offering, but we're not going in with the assumption that we're going to be we're not competing with some very strong players on the ground.
This is also interesting because a lot of South African agencies have these global parents. But you are independent,
yes.
Truly South African.
Yes.
Now you're heading out.
Yes.
Is it hard to compete, even locally, because there's been concern lately around a lot of mergers about conglomerates in this industry?
Well, absolutely. We've been in the business for 23 years. We remain independent. We believe that that is a benefit and a unique offering we can offer to our clients both in South Africa.
We're not being controlled by...
And we
by
don't, yeah, absolutely. Our decisions are our own to make. Our strategic views are ours to develop. And how we take our growth forward is absolutely something we can own. And we can therefore take on the challenges we're taking on by moving more extensively into Africa and the Middle East. But do it in our own way that is respectful of our culture and our own business values and our own strategic standpoint.
Final question, will you be looking for clients in the Middle East, new clients, or is this about connecting people that you're dealing with in South Africa to the rest of Africa?
It's both. So we have within our own framework of clients in South Africa, both existing and potential, and we already have interest from brands and products in Europe who are looking to Africa and the Middle East. So it is about growth outside of South Africa, as well as what we can do with our own clients, taking them into Africa and the Middle East.
All right, thank you so much for your time and interesting developments in South Africa's ad industry, and that was Andrew Fradd from Mortimer Harvey. That is a wrap from Business Review. It's been great to have you with us. I'll have a quick business update for you in prime time shortly. See you then.
Zoom into Africa. This is Gabon. The president is Mr. Ali Ben Bongo. Gabon got independent from France on August 17 in 1960. The population is over 1 million people. One of the major languages spoken is French. Monetary unit is CFA.
The Mantanga Cultural Village is a large family homestead with 16 huts, each of them with its own specific purpose.
My responsibility is taking care of the family. As far as cleanliness is concerned, I have to make sure that I keep the homes as clean as possible every morning when I wake up.
That's Kaleidoscope, Sundays 5:30 p.m. on SABC News.